Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Tarin It Up podcast. I am here today with Haylee Jordan of Fabric. I'm excited to dive into this one because we haven't had anyone like representing this space, and we've talked a bit about, drinking less alcohol and other alternatives and things like that. And I know a lot more people are out there interested with some alternatives to drinking, whether that's like at all or just like subbing some things in. And there's just so many different sides of this conversation too that we could dive into. So I love like just getting started here with you all and wondering like where are we gonna go today and what is it gonna hit. But I think a lot of us out there will really enjoy this conversation today because they're rooted in Colorado in the outdoor spaces. So much like a lot of you, you might be able to really resonate with some of their ethos and values and align well with the product and whatnot. So like I said, excited to dive in here. Before we get really into it, I'm going to let Haylee introduce herself here. And Haylee, where are you today as we are recording?
Hi, everyone. My name is Haylee. I am in Denver, Colorado today.
Awesome. And that's where Fabric is. Well, that's not where Fabric is headquartered.
We are here in Colorado. We are a cool Australian Colorado mashup. So our brewer and biochemist is in Perth, and then our CEO and co-founder Tom. He is Australian, but he lives in Colorado. So, yeah.
What is your role in the company right now?
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, Fabric is a beverage brand on a mission to unfuck tomorrow. We sell non-alcoholic products, like you were saying, functional hop waters. So that's anything from a hop water with L-theanine to a low dose of THC in our hero product here in Colorado. Yeah, and my role, I'm co-founder at Fabric along with my two other co-founders, Anthony and Tom, and I am chief of brand. But co-founder slash chief of brand means I'm doing just about any and everything. My background is in brand strategy, identity design. So that's really where I thrive, figuring out a positioning of a brand, driving the strategy into the design and all of our company decisions. But on the daily, I'm doing all sorts of things from managing tasting teams, popping up at events, carting product around town, kind of any and everything that I can do to keep the business going with such a small team.
And I think that most listeners who've been around for a while have heard this kind of theme of, we have a lot of small brands on here, and the founders are very much involved in every aspect, or the teams are very small. So it's not just one person doing one thing. You're often wearing multiple hats, as I think a lot of us also can resonate with what you do in life or for work or whatnot. But that does make me wonder, how big is the Fabric team? Because I think there's a lot of different ideas out there of small businesses. And like I said, on this podcast, there are very, very small businesses. But sometimes I hear brands say, oh, we're a small business. And they might have 50 people. And I'm like, I don't think of that as a small business. I think of like a team of like 10 or less small or whatnot. But yeah, I'm always curious on the inner workings and what your team does look like.
Yeah, we look bigger than we are. We've done some really great things that have made us look that way. Like we were on the cover of BevNet magazine recently. We just have a great team. So we have three co-founders. We do everything. And then we have a VP of sales. He's helping us with all of our sales. And then most of anyone that works with us is a contractor. So
Oh, okay.
three team members. And then we have contractors that help with PR. Shout out to Andrea Green. And Matt, like I said, does sales. And then we have a lot of people on our sampling team that help with popping up places and getting people to try fabric. So we are truly a small company and a small
Yeah.
team.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to dive in a little bit about how you actually got to this place with Fabric. You mentioned that you spent a decade in brand strategy and design, and so that's a big role that you play in Fabric. But what got you started in that line of work in the first place,
Okay.
and like how eventually, did that lead you to working with like outdoor brands or that kind of connection
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. So I went to college for not brand design, and I had a very impactful semester of learning brand strategy, and it opened up my world so much. We had to brand heaven or hell, and it was a really interesting project. It opened up my mind in a way that I had never thought about design and how it can be used for good or evil. Uh,
Oh.
how it is so ingrained in psychology, human behavior. It really touches everything,
Mhm.
and it made design so much more meaningful for me. So that's why I decided to move into branding. I thought it was amazing that you could tell a story about a product to sell it, and hopefully a good product that you
Yeah.
believe in, right? We wanna sell good things that we believe in, and that's a lot of where fabric stems from, but, truly just falling in love with the depths of branding, and recently I wrote about how it's still hard for me. It's a hard thing to do, is to create something that people care about and make a story and resonate and pivot, so I just think I knew it was gonna keep me busy for a long time.
Yeah.
So then I started specializing in consumer brands, a lot of CPG brands. The past 5 years, I got really interested in snacks and beverages because it's honestly just fun. Like, it is not healthcare, it is not pharmaceuticals, it is fun, beverages and snacks, and then also personal care. So started doing a ton of that work and then naturally ended up creating a brand with 2 others in the beverage space.
Awesome. And so for anyone out there who doesn't know, CPG is consumer packaged goods. And is that, I don't know too much about that world at all. I've had some small like nutrition brands on the podcast before, but does you mentioned doing like in the beauty product or health product world. So is consumer packaged goods really anything that comes in a package then, or is it just fall under like the nutrition edible type of category?
I would consider it anything that's packaged and
Okay.
scale. Um, yeah, so lots of different things there that could be, like you said, beauty, skincare, food, beverage, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like, for me, I think because of the world that I've been in or the guests I've had has just been related to nutrition, that's just always been in my head, and suddenly I was like, "Wait, that there's so many other categories that, like, CPG could fall under for sure." But yeah, I think especially in the outdoor industry, what you're thinking about when you see it, because you either see hard goods, apparel, or, like, nutrition, and so I think a lot of that CPG does happen to fall under nutrition, maybe in the outdoor industry, at least, like I said, in my brain.
Yeah.
Um, but I love what you said too about, just brand strategy and it telling a story, the connection with the good and the evil. I think that would have been a definitely different way to kinda think about branding and whatnot. But I think a lot of folks out there, I learned more about this as I got into the retail space and learned about, like, merchandising in a retail store and whatnot, of the psychology behind things, because when you are the consumer, sometimes you don't think too much about what you're doing or why you're doing it, right? And then when you kinda dive in, you realize, like, "Oh, wow, there is a lot of thought behind it," right? And the psychology behind branding and things like that, and then especially owning a business and working with a designer or something, and when they're digging into you to try to pull out these ideas and things that represent you, it's like it's just amazing really how much goes into it, and it's gotta be a fun thing, but I'm sure very hard to do as well when maybe you're going through times of your own, like, creative slump or something, right? Like, have you ever found it hard to work with someone and you're just like, "I am in a headspace that maybe isn't, like, not all these ideas are flowing," or do you generally find it pretty easy as you start pulling stuff out of people that it comes to you?
I think it's both. I think anyone in a creative job hits those times where they're like, it's hard to sell your creativity for money full time.
Yeah.
It's hard to make something new and exciting every day. So I think every creative hits that. But once you get to be pretty professional and proficient at it, I feel like you can remove that piece of it and okay, we are hitting on these 10 objectives or 3 objectives. We know what the positioning is, we know what it needs to look like. So
Mhm.
when you start thinking of it rather than like an art, which it still is an art, but more of like a business decision of how you
Mhm.
execute, I think it becomes sort of black and white, which is helpful. Still always subjective, people have their opinions on what things remind them of. They'll look at something and say, "This reminds me of a painting that was in my grandma's house in 1997." And so there's a lot of that in the design world, but, I think if you're able to approach it through strategy, it can make it a lot easier.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You probably start to learn kind of a like it's all called a strategy, that you get a system of, okay, I can pull this and that out of this person, and so the next step is going to be this, and that creativity then will like follow. But of course, like you said, with anyone in that role, it's going to ebb and flow a bit of what comes to mind in the creative space. When you got to the point of working with founder or with fabric. What was that like as you were being working as a brand strategist? Was there something before this role came along that made you think like you wanted to take a bigger role in a company, or did this role kind of just come to you and it happened to fit perfectly? Like, were you seeking it, or
Yeah.
did it just come to you?
I was not actively looking to found a beverage company. I was actively looking to ingrain myself deeper in the non-alc beverage category by talking about it, by consuming the products. I had a podcast with Laura Silverman of Zero Proof Nation, and we talked a lot about non-alc products and how they're being branded and kind of this huge boom. So I was in very interested in that aspect of it. And then on my own, I'm making up a business in my head every week. Even now with fabric, I have 1,000 business ideas. It's like a sickness. It's not good. Um, I've always been open to I wanna make something else, I wanna make something that means something. I focused a lot on mission-driven brands, and then, I'm meeting my co-founders, it kind of just came to be.
That's awesome. I also have so many ideas all the time.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's
would
like
love
sometimes not good where you're just like,
yeah,
okay, I want to focus on like whatever the one thing I'm doing. And it's like all these ideas, are not always even for you, right? You're just like, that would be great. It's not for me. And I think, I don't know, have you ever looked into human design much?
not really.
It
No.
I've only dipped my toes in a bit, like, a friend of mine did my human design, but it came up recently at an event I was at, and, mine is I'm a manifester, and there's all sorts of different kind of people, manifest generator and whatnot, but manifester, I was talking with another person and who was also a manifester, and we were just, like, discussing how we have so many ideas, but sometimes it can be hard to execute on some of them or any of them, but it's also because they're not always, like, for us, right? They're amazing, and we have these, and we wanna get them out there into the world, but they weren't really meant for us to, execute them completely or do the thing or carry them, so I think looking at it that way too is hopefully gonna help me kind of reframe this feeling of being, like, overwhelmed or feeling like I'm, not executing on enough or something, remembering, like, "Wait, all this stuff that comes through my mind doesn't have to it's not for me exactly." So, like, kinda letting
Yes,
it go, I guess, letting it go and flow, but, yeah,
yeah.
I wanna dive in a little bit deeper on the human design, there's so many aspects of it, but I'm
Is
wondering if that's maybe what yours is as well.
Yeah, and I think it's cool if you think about how many ideas you have, that means they're abundant. So if
Mhm.
they are abundant, you don't have to start all of them. You can just let them come and go. Is the human design, is that also the, Enneagram?
No, it's different.
Okay, but there
So
are 2 categories of, like, what type of person you are, because
yep,
I'm a challenger, I'm an 8,
okay.
Enneagram, which is interesting.
Yeah, I haven't done the Enneagram in a while. I think it was 7 or 8, somewhere around there. I know that in the scale, and I know it can change too, and since it's been years since I've done it, I wanna do it again and see, like, where I might land right now, but your human design is based on your, like, birthplace and date and stuff, so I don't like, that won't ever change, but and I'm not sure why how the Enneagram does or whatnot, but yeah, it'd be there's some free websites out there that you can get kind of a quick overview of things, and then obviously, like, any of those things, some go, like, way deeper into stuff, but I love, like, diving in and learning kind of, like, why I am the way I am or why my
Yeah,
mind works a certain way, and I think it's very
yeah,
helpful for a lot of us because we can, like I just said, like, beat ourselves up on, "Why do I do this, and why am I that way?" And if we just kind of learn how we can work with it better instead of look at some things as a negative right off the bat, then it can just help us move forward with our work or be more efficient or like I said, let go instead of hold on so tightly.
yeah.
And kind of speaking of that, it like segues a bit into what was happening in your life at the time that like this fabric opportunity came about. And if you want to speak to kind of how it did at all or however much you want to share with how that happened, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, of course. I've run my brand studio, for many, many years. So I was working on Supercult, which is my consumer, um, brand studio. So doing a lot of brand strategy, identity, package design, and I was working with the great photographer Joni, who, if you go to studiosupercult.com, you'll see her amazing photography of our work together. So I was just heads down doing a lot of client work. And that's how I got originally connected to Tom at Fabric was he was going to create something, he was looking for a brand designer. And it's funny because my other co-founder, Anthony, is also a brand designer. So he was kind of
Oh,
chatting with both of us. And then all of a sudden we became a team and we're like, okay, we can build this as a brand first company. What is the brand? Why does it matter? How is it impactful? And then develop the products according to that. So we're a very creative team.
that's awesome that you both, like 2 of you out of the team are, like, in the same realm. I mean, I'm sure there's many times or people where you could, like, end up butting heads if you have complete different design ideas or expectations or whatnot, but it sounds like between the 3 of you, things are pretty cohesive in that it's more beneficial to be able to just, like, bounce those ideas off of each other and have someone who can kinda look at things with a professional eye, but also give you, like, yeah, just better or more, educated opinions, I guess, or something on the matters.
Yeah, we all are pretty aligned most of the time. We're very thorough. We've gone through a lot of exercises together over and over and over again, which is what it requires to make something great, I think. But having people that are similar to you want to create something that means something, have similar design sense and understanding of strategy has been super helpful. So I'd say, yeah, we butt heads sometimes, but I think in general, we all want the same thing and we want this to be really successful and to help as many people as we can. So it's been a good experience.
That's amazing. As you stepped into this role, now being a founder and still like in charge of the brand design and whatnot, was there anything that stuck out, like any differences that you felt with trying to do this kind of work for a brand that you were like now personally invested in?
Then my studio work that I was doing.
Yeah, like, just, like, doing the brand strategy and design for a brand that you were invested in versus, like, doing it for a client, like, obviously, you're invested into these people and your clients and whatnot in another way, but did it make anything harder, or did you feel like it was, like, a lot easier or, like, second guess yourself anymore or something now that it was something that, yeah, you were invested in yourself?
Yeah, I think that I was able to take more risks with my team. When you're working for someone else, you really have to fit what they want, what they need, and how much risk they're willing to take with their brand, and most of the time, it's not very much risk, and so
Mhm.
we were able to have some risky things like our tagline's "Unfuck tomorrow," and we're selling drugs, right, in a can.
Yeah.
So, we were able to say, like, "Okay, we're willing to take this risk. It's our brand, and we'll put our name on the line for this risk." So, that's been really great. Usually with my client work, it would be I would design something, send it off. My job is mostly done when the brand's kind of wrapped up. And as we know, brands evolving, right? It moves and breathes and needs attention all the time. But most of my projects ended at some point with clients. This project has not ended, it's just evolved my role. So the design's done. I mean, it changes and needs some work every now and then, but we're moving into more sales and tracking velocity and doing events. And so that side of the business is more new for me than what I would have been doing at my studio.
Yeah, and how do you feel as you're learning these things and, like, really seeing that side of all the other business aspects, do you does it make it stick, like, the brand design and everything you have now? Like, "Yes, this is all, like, fitting together," or does it kind of open these doors of, like, constantly thinking of ways you can, like, change it and evolve it, being just that kinda creative mind that has all these ideas? Is it hard for you to, like, kinda harness in the desire to, like, want to go in and change stuff, like, more often?
Actually, we get such good feedback on the brand identity and the can design and the overall brand that I'm like, "Good, it's
Yeah.
good. Don't touch it."
Good.
Yeah, of course, it will change over time and will, need new
Right.
things, but I'm pretty much good with where that's at. Also, to be honest, we don't have a lot of time to overthink things that are done. We're just kind
Yes.
of always trying to catch up. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, we get such good feedback on it, and I think it would be different if we weren't getting that good feedback, but I feel pretty good about where we are.
Yeah, good. Because I can just imagine my mind with, like, being feeling really great about it, but then just like, "Well, what if, like, this event made, like that sparked this idea, and what if I wanna try that?" And I just wonder
Yeah.
how it might look or something, sometimes I have that problem of, like, what you just said, I love of, like, what's done is done and, like, let's move on to the next project because you don't have time to go back, and it's not like it's done half-assed and you're like, "Oh, we got it out there, it's not perfect." Like, it is good. So, like, there is no need to go back and second guess it.
Yeah, and we do have a ton of ideas, but it's not so much about changing the brand identity, it's more of activations. We have
Mhm.
endless ideas for how we want to do cool events and activations and bring people together, hundreds of them probably, so that is, something we do go over and over again.
Yeah, that's awesome. I am curious a bit about how the name, like, came to be and if that was something that all of you kind of like, fell on together or if that was someone's choice in the first place and you all fell in or what it actually means because I know your tagline's "Unfuck tomorrow," and so, yeah, I was curious what I have some ideas in my head about how I'm linking fabric to what I know about
Yeah.
you guys, so I'd love to hear what the definition, I guess, or reason
Yeah.
behind it is from you.
Yeah, we did a good chunk of time with naming exercises. We landed on fabric. We are mending the social fabric. We give back 2% to mental health. We are pending B Corp and we're a public benefit corporation. So just a nice fancy way of saying we're legally required to not be jerks. And so we really felt that fabric was good. It hit some good things too as far as a brand goes. You can say it.
Mhm.
You're not mispronouncing it. It's clean and simple, and, that's really when you look at our brand and our product, you're seeing clean, simple design, straight to the point, that was really important for us, so it hits on all these great things and really hits on our mission as well.
That's awesome, I love it, and that's what's kind of in my head, I'm like, "Okay, well, like, the fabric of you," or, like,
Yeah.
because I knew that, again, that you guys touch on mental health or where it's come from and whatnot, so, yeah, I had all these connections to just, like, the fabric of your being and, like, really, like, getting in touch with yourself on that deeper level, so
Yeah, and all that is true,
yeah.
all that does tie into it.
That's amazing. Was there any point in time, like, once this came about, that you were gonna get started with the fabric that you second guessed doing it? Or once you kind of, like, heard about the opportunity or jumped in on it, that you were just, like, head first dive in, like, the "Let's go."
Yeah, I think with startups, it's a bumpy road, and especially in a regulated industry where you're
Mhm.
selling THC. And you're waiting for regulation to land, and it changes every day, and it's different from state to state. There is a lot of, like, bumpy roadblocks. Your bank account gets shut down. All of these things have happened to us, and they happen
Wow.
every day. So there there's never been, like, doubt about the company going somewhere. I know it's going to be successful, but it is taxing sometimes. And so I think you just need to take a step back, go outside,
Yes.
anything else, and, remember that, I mean, fabric's a huge part of our lives, but it's not our whole life,
Mhm.
and there's a lot to do elsewhere and a lot of ways to clear our heads, but, definitely, I think it'd be weird if you didn't doubt, yourself or didn't get discouraged at some of the roadblocks. I will say as time goes on, it's easier to be like, "Yep, another roadblock," like, we get those every day, it's not a big deal, so I say with time, it gets easier.
Yeah, yeah, like, you become more resilient, right? You know that you can get over this hurdle, and you've you may not be the same one, obviously, every time, but you know you have gotten over them, so when another one comes, it's like, "Okay, this one might take a little more work," or, "We're not really we haven't dealt with this before, but we know we can do it because we've dealt with other things we hadn't beforehand." And yeah, just building that, I think, grit that you definitely need as a small business is it just you have to, or you don't survive as a small
Yeah,
company. And that's why it is not for the faint of heart to
no.
start businesses. And I think, especially product-based businesses, let alone, as you mentioned, something that is highly regulated and restricted, which last night I was in a grocery store and I was like had my eyes out for some different kinds of beverages and I've seen a few different types in different stores. I've seen some with CBD. I've seen like these drinks with like adaptogens and things like that. And so I was something I couldn't wait to ask you about was how that is getting in the grocery store with, being THC, especially because you don't see I haven't seen THC. I've just seen CBD drinks, and I still, again, haven't seen them in every grocery store or anything, and like you said, from state to state, some states still have, like, liquor stores for beer or alcohol, and some can still in the grocery store, so
Mhm.
how has, like, that been for you guys? When you started Fabric, I'm sure you all did some research and whatnot, but was there any major kind of roadblock that had you stop and think like, "Whoa, we didn't think it was gonna be, like, this hard to" or something?
In different states, it's a bit different. So we're really early for THC in Colorado. If you go to Minnesota, you'll see, I mean, aisles of hemp beverage at the grocery store, pretty much everywhere. It's sold over the bar and everything. Target's piloting at 300 stores in Illinois, Florida, and Texas. They have hemp beverage. And then the Chicago's United Center is now selling hemp beverage. So it's coming. We're just a little bit behind. I think that we always knew regulation was a difficult hurdle
Mhm.
from the beginning, but I think that's what makes it so exciting is there's such potential for it, and we're seeing huge traction in other states, and we know it's coming here. And it's not, to get you high, it's to give you an alternative to alcohol, a little buzz without the booze. And I think that's kind of the biggest misconception is people are like, "This won't get me high." I'm like, "Hey, we have a dispensary on every corner. We are not
Yeah.
trying to be in the dispensary. We're trying to give people that don't go into dispensaries something as an alternative."
Yeah, so there's a couple things, like, to me, shocking, right? It feels so opposite that Colorado is behind some of these other states in this particular category. It's wild, and, second is exactly that, like, we can dive in a bit about, like, the differences, because this was my question when we had our first call together and talk, was like, I know plenty of people that, enjoy weed, and it's just never been my favorite thing. I don't enjoy it very much, but I am a little hesitant to some drinks, like, "Well, how is this gonna make me feel right?" Because I know what the buzz of alcohol is like, right? And so, with trying something else, like, "Well, what is this? What kind of feeling is it gonna make me have?" And just to know, like, when I wanna have a drink. I know I can have a beer after riding my bike and still hang out and talk with friends or whatever, but I'm like, "Well, is this one gonna put me on my ass or something because I don't respond well in the first place to, like, this other drug in this form?" So, yeah, if you can talk a little bit about what exactly or how much and kind of, like, what people can expect, I guess, from having a beverage, because like I said, CBD is out and about, and I think many people have tried those, but you haven't seen a lot of THC infused.
Mhm. Yeah, we have the one that's sold in Colorado at liquor stores is 1.5 milligrams of THC. So for most people, that's pretty approachable. And we kind of designed it like a light beer. So it's not meant to knock you out.
Mhm,
If you want more, you would have two. If you're hanging out at the pool, you might have three light beers.
mhm.
So you can kind of choose your own adventure. We equate a can to a light beer usually in the way it feels. Of course, alcohol and THC are different. It won't feel the exact same, and we can't promise that one person will have the same feeling as maybe I have. But it is nano-emulsified THC, so it that just means that it hits your body quicker. So 20-minute onset, it kind of peaks and has an offset just like a beer would. It's not like a college brownie that you eat and you're like, "I'm not feeling anything, so I'm gonna eat 3 more." And then all of a sudden you're in a really bad spot. We've designed it to kind of have a rapid onset to not catch you off guard.
I think that was probably some of my, like, fear, I guess, of yeah, experimenting with other types of, like, intake from weed or things, and it's like, yeah, when do I expect it to hit, you know? So that's good to know that it's, like, much more similar to drinking, like, an alcoholic beverage with the onset of what you're gonna feel and maybe how much you might feel from it, and, I know I had a sample, you sent me, and so I was like, "Okay, should I try it now or now?" I was like, "Oh, I'll wait until I got most of my work done."
Mhm.
Like, I don't have anything else I really need to do just in case I get really unmotivated,
Uh-huh.
which can yeah, like, even with alcohol, sometimes it's like, "Cool, I had a beer, now I have all these ideas or this or I wanna do this or that," or sometimes it's like, "Nope, we're chilling out the rest of
Yeah.
the day," it really depends on, obviously, so many other variables about what's going on in your life, your mind, your body, what you ate, what you drank, all of
Yes.
that. We're all, I think, old enough to know that every day is gonna look differently in what we consume, whether it's any, like, alcoholic beverage or non-alcoholic, it's
Mhm.
just like what we eat, in a day. Just we're so different day to
Yes.
day. And I wanna talk a little bit about, kind of the tagline of, like, "Unfuck tomorrow," and the just diving a little bit more into, like, the mental health space because you mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, about, like, why you were really wanting to get deeper into the non-alc space, and so, yeah, if you wanted to share a bit about kind of, like, your personal journey of why or how that came about, if a full sobriety journey, or if it was just kind of an alternative thing you like to have once in a while. That's where I'm at. I like the balance where sometimes I love the taste of beer, and I want to have, like, the taste of it, but I don't really want the buzz at all, and non-alcoholic beer has gotten a lot better than it was,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I feel like, "Okay, I actually have some options now." So where do you fall on that,
Yeah.
spectrum or choices?
Sure. Ever since I've talked about non-alc, I wanted to be very, very clear with everyone that I am not a sober person. I call myself a mindful drinker. Um, and that's important to me because I've met people that present as very sober online and then
Mhm,
not in real life. And I wanted to always make sure that I was very clear that I'm not sober. So if you see
mhm,
me out at a networking event and I'm drinking a light beer, it's because I'm not sober. So really approaching alcohol through being mindful and then not numbing out,
mhm,
and realizing that when I'm drinking weekly, I'm not living up to my full potential.
mhm.
I don't feel like I'm who I am meant to be. And I wonder if anyone else resonates with that because it's like a weird thing to say is I'm not who I'm meant to be when I'm drinking. And I don't mean drunk. I mean 3 beers in a week. Something about it quiets my ambition. Like you were saying, maybe at the end of the night after drinking a beer, you're like, I'm just going to do nothing. And your mind kind of blanks out and you watch too much TV. It's
Mhm,
not really what I want to be doing with my time. So finding a good balance. And of course, it's always changing, and maybe there are some weeks where I have more than I'd like, but really working to have those alternatives, and I do love non-alc beer. I personally have been drinking lots of non-alc Coronas and enjoying them quite a
Oh,
bit. Yeah. And then Unfuck Tomorrow ties into that as well, is our brand's all about balance, so we never tell people you shouldn't drink. You
mhm,
can drink. We just have an option that will be good for you on those nights that you don't want to, or if you are fully sober from alcohol, great, you have a great option there. But Unfuck Tomorrow was about so much more than just not being hungover. Of course, it's about how we're giving back, how we're caring for the planet and our minds, and
mm,
getting off our phones and stop scrolling and, just focusing on the things that bring people together and true wellness. And that kind of ties into the outdoors. We aren't an outdoor brand, but we're kind of branded as an outdoor brand, which is funny because we are in Colorado and so many people like, hike a 14er or snowboard all day. And the thing in Colorado is you go get beers afterwards. And what if you don't wanna drink a beer afterwards? What if you want something that's not going to hydrate you at 10,000 feet? Because we all know how that feels, doesn't feel good. Um, just figuring out how can we fit this outdoor lifestyle in Colorado with these other options
mhm.
has been really important for us, and that, to me, unfucks tomorrow quite a bit.
Yes, I love it, and I love what you said about being a mindful drinker because I feel like right now, honestly, because a lot of people are, quitting drinking, and that's great. It's amazing if you're doing something that benefits you. I think that's awesome, whatever it is. And I think that with social media a lot, then people can start to feel you're always gonna feel a pressure from one end or the other. And I feel like right now there's a lot of people out there who might suddenly feel, like, bad because they do drink still. They're like, "Hold on, now everyone's not drinking, and I'm out here, like, after this group ride, and I wanna crack a beer, and now I feel awkward, like, can I say this? Does anyone around here still drink?" And, are they I think it's getting our mindset around too where it used to be so many people, like, if people didn't drink, it was a lot, like, tied to some heavy things,
Yeah.
right? And now it's just because more balance in their life, they just wanna do it, they just wanna be healthy, and it's not something that you have to, like, tiptoe around if
Mhm.
you wanna have a beer and they don't. But I think it's yeah, there's been, like, a swing in the pendulum for a lot of people of, "Oh, well, now I feel, like, lesser than because I do wanna have a beer." And, it's just kinda this weird balance, and I'm like sometimes I find myself in that, but I, like you, have just noticed that for me, sometimes when I drink, for particularly, it's, like, treats and snacks. I'm like, I could lose all control of, like, smart thinking with my food. I instantly am craving, like, not great things or, binge eating or something, just wanna eat, like, too much and to, like, totally lose any control there, and it could be off of just, like, 1 beer sometimes where it's like, "Okay, now give me this whole bag of chips," or this or that, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I hate it," and, so I've I like to definitely drink a lot less because I notice I'm just not having those out of control cravings without
Yeah.
it. Um, but yeah, I'm still gonna enjoy a beer once in a while, and there's the weeks where I'm like, "Oh yeah, maybe I had a little more maybe than I
Yeah.
like wanted to overall," but I like having the option that still just lets you feel kinda loose, I guess, whatever that relaxing
Yeah.
feeling that we crave sometimes from alcohol is, but yeah, not to numb anything, right? And so I think you have to really know yourself, right, to find the balance that you need and what's working and whether you need to cut it completely or if you need to also cut any kind of substance at all,
Right.
right? Because, like, this is the non-alc space, but it's still has a substance in it. So there are some people who are, like, really want the full sobriety, like, journey.
Mhm.
So what do you have any thoughts, I guess, on that? Like, whether people like, this would be for them or not?
Mm. Yeah, we do have a non-THC product as well. It's called Zero. It has lemongrass in it. It's brand new, but it has L-theanine. L-theanine is an amino acid found in tea leaves, so would just give you a little boost of focus and energy. I see that as a great product for someone that's a little bit nervous about the THC. We always say, like, we never force THC on anyone, so you kind of know if it's for you or not, or if you are a fully sober person, you can drink one of our non-infused. But I think if you wanna try it out, we always just say drink it slowly and see how you feel. Um, but yeah, I think there's a lot of other options as well, and I mean, in general in the industry, there are so many different options that don't have any intoxicants at all.
I forgot for a moment about the non
Yes.
feeling tea, and that's like you sent me one of both too, and
Yeah.
I definitely tried the non first because like, I just wanted to, yeah, see, like, have a comparison kind of on the going up the scale,
Yes.
and again, it's like everything can be so nuanced, and it's all about, your personal kind of wants, and I think you just really have to be aware of what it is the reason, I guess, that you even want to have any
Mhm.
beverage that might make you, like, feel calm and relaxed or whatever, whether it's has any kind of, drug in it or what is in it. It just has to be really, really about more full awareness. And I love again that you touched on like the unfuck tomorrow on so many different things with like the, being outdoors and helping just like putting back into mental health space. And it's not just about like not being hung over. There's so
Yes.
many ways that it ties into like what you guys are about. And being in Tahoe myself, it's the same thing where you're like so many people outdoors and what's the thing to do after is grab a beer or that's on the tailgate or something, right? It's just the social aspect, and I don't know that that's, like, probably never gonna go away because that's what you do with friends too, go out to dinner, go have a drink, and it's awesome to be able to see some of these beverages make their way into these spaces. Do you guys have any kind of plans or hopes and desires to be in restaurants and bars, or what's the kinda main focus for you getting to consumers right now?
Yeah, so we do a ton in liquor stores, but we also are in bars,
Oh,
right now with our non-dosed, and we're pushing really hard to have our low-dose THC infused sold at bars as well, so that's our push this summer. This is a thing in other states, so we know we can do it soon, but I think it will be huge because we don't see gathering together going away. I mean,
mhm,
seems like the younger people are doing it less, but we want them to do it more.
mhm,
It doesn't mean that you have to drink alcohol when you're coming together, so we see a great need for this, and we've talked to so many different customers at these bars, and they get very excited about a low dose THC beverage sold at the bar, and I think it is in high demand.
mhm,
So we're excited to see that happen and just keep people gathering together. We think that wellness is so performative right now. It's, a video of you doing a cold plunge and it's everything's online, and to me there's a lot of performance, whether it's performing that you're having fun or that you're successful or that you're well. But
Mhm.
what is true wellness? It's to us, it's really simple. It is gathering together. It's maybe consuming less alcohol and less sugar. All of our beverages are 0 calories, 0 sugar. So kind of getting back to the roots of what is a healthy life and what is a connected life. And so we're
Mm,
hoping that we want people to drink more, we say. Even if you're drinking alcohol, you can drink our zero in between. Like,
mhm,
I don't know if anyone's heard of zebra striping, but that's a common term of switching back and forth between alcohol and non-alc, so you can feel a little bit better the next day, or just pace yourself for a night out, watching a game or after an event. So we really want people to keep gathering. We see that as something super important for our well-being in general.
I haven't heard of the term zebra striping, but I've definitely done it
Yeah.
myself, at least, like, start with one because sometimes when I start with a non-alc beer, then it just lessens my desire out of the gate, I've
Mhm.
been on a trend of really keeping it to, like, 3 is kind of like the max I'll have if I go out, and that's, not a once or twice a week, but because I know after a certain level, then for me, it's not doing anything positive at all when within this, like, limit of 2 to 3, I can have the control that I want over some things. But yeah, like I said, sometimes even just after 1, it's like, "Wait, I've lost some inhibition to the plan I had, before going into this." So, there's days that if I'm really like, "Oh, I really, 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 like, want a beer," and I might wanna have a few today, then I'm like, "Well, why don't I start with, like, a non-alc that will
Mhm.
kinda hit the main punch of the craving, and then maybe I'll have, one more after that or something, like, it just can really change the game, but I
Yeah.
like that a lot, like zebra striping where you're
Yeah.
just kinda filling in, and like I said, there's just so many options out there that it does make it easier, not like choking something down, you really do feel like you're it tastes good, and because that's the thing
Yeah.
for me personally is I like the taste of beer,
But
so I'm not doing it just for the buzz, like, I want that, so, to have something that tastes that way and I'm not getting the benefits or I mean, I guess I'm not getting the things I don't want from it. I'm
yes.
actually getting some benefits from it.
Absolutely, I feel you there. It seems like zebra striping is kind of a term people don't really know, but there a lot of people are doing it naturally like you, which
Yeah.
is cool to see. And that's just
Yeah.
another mindful approach of, like, and, it takes effort to be mindful around
Mhm.
alcohol. I think we've all experienced times where we weren't mindful, um, because it does kind of shut off some of your brain there after a few drinks, but I think it's worth it. It's worth the journey of learning to be mindful with any substance, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick before we like kind of wrap things up, just because this podcast obviously is a focus on women and women in the outdoors and whatnot, I want to touch a little bit on like your experience in this industry as a woman and if there's been kind of anything that's stuck out to you or what your journey in this industry has been for anybody out there who might be, wanting to dip their toes in a role like this because again, I do think a lot of our listeners out there are very like motivated, like empowered women, ready to use their voice and whatnot, not afraid to step into different positions. But there still can be those people out there who are like intimidated by certain roles or positions and whatnot. So I always love to share the experience of the guest in what they've kind of gone through to help any of those doubts in someone listening, like, lessen, and have them take their chance, in something that they may have been holding back on.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I like to weightlift, and just like beverage and just like I mean, every industry I've been involved in is male dominated, so is weightlifting.
Mhm,
So when I'm in the weightlifting room, sometimes I'll be creeped out by a guy, right? Sometimes I'll be annoyed because they're coming up to me and telling me that I'm doing something wrong and I need to do it better. Or sometimes they're watching me. Like all of these things happen in the
mhm,
weight room. But I had a mantra for that time and those times is I'm not here for them, I'm here for me. And so I think I can take that into business as well. You're not there for them, you're there for you. So what do you want out of this? And how can you be a leader? And I think, because most of us in design and beverage and whatever in male dominated industries, sometimes we have to try to fit ourselves into the way that maybe men lead. But I think that women have such a great take on leadership and can lead with compassion and great communication. Not saying men can't do those
mhm.
things either, but I think using a mantra, "I'm not here for them, I'm here for me." Um, why not take the leap and just try it? And, like, if you happen to be in a toxic situation, learning how to stand up for yourself, and, like, my co-founders will probably tell you that I do that quite a bit. I stand up for myself, and I do stand my ground, and I say what I think, and I'm not just doing that for me and for fabric, I'm doing it for the thousands of women before me that had never done that and hadn't had the chance, or hadn't had the background to do it, and so I feel you just have to own your personal power, and
Yeah.
of course, it's difficult sometimes,
Mhm.
but I work with great co-founders too, so they've made it a good space for me to stand up, but I think, yeah, just knowing that you have personal power and don't let anyone else run your life. My friend Megan's dad, when she was learning to drive, he told her, "Don't let the person behind you drive your car."
Oh.
And that stuck with me my whole life. I mean, I heard that when I was, like, 14 or 15. And so just because I'm in a certain environment or a weight room or something, like, I control where I go,
Mhm.
and no one else can drive my car.
I
And I
love that. That's so good.
think that's an important thing too. It's not easy. I mean, a lot of women get treated a certain way for standing up for themselves. They can get called names for being
Mhm.
strong, but it's kind of like, just own it. If
Yeah.
someone wants to call you a bitch, maybe you are. Maybe you should just own it and be
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I am sometimes."
Yeah.
Yeah. And not just be
Yeah.
scared of, like, "Oh, no, someone might think something of me." Sure, lots of people will think lots of different things of you,
Uh-huh.
good and bad over the course of your life, like, as long as you're acting with integrity and, standing up for yourself, I think they can call you whatever they want.
Absolutely, and I think, we are moving into more, like, spaces where women are in power, and
Mhm.
we're seeing so many more women using their voices and all this stuff, but I still know there's a lot of women out there who are, like, yeah, intimidated by it or don't wanna be called this or thought of this way or that way. So I just like to remind anybody out there, whoever because again, we might second guess ourselves too or just be in those moments, a phase, a season of life where we're just like, doubting this, like where we felt like we had this power before and for whatever reason maybe we're not feeling so strong in that way. So for anybody out there who may be just in that season, like you'll come out of it, you'll come back on top, and
Yeah.
your mantra sounds amazing as well. And I think that, yeah, we just all need to always be using our voices and doing it for you, right? And like
Yeah.
remembering your whys, why you're there in the first place, what's it to
Mhm.
you, what does it mean to you, and yeah, maybe tapping into those times like that you do feel like strong and powerful. Is that when you're in the gym and lifting weights, then like imagine yourself in that space when you're in that boardroom or when you're going to have that hard conversation with a boss or, whatever it might be, a partner, brand, anything. I know there's plenty of times I still have to remind myself, like, okay, I can do this. And if
Mhm.
I come off this way or that way, it's about still what your intention is, right? So if someone may think like, oh, you're a bitch because you said this or you had an attitude or like, maybe I did, and so maybe I was a bitch in that moment because I had that intent behind it, but if I didn't have that intent, then
Yeah,
you know yourself, like, "No, I wasn't. That's just what I was just being
absolutely.
strong about what I was asking for."
Yeah,
Um
and women are allowed to be full people,
Mhm.
and we aren't conditioned in that way that allows us to be full people that experience anger, that stand up for ourselves, that speak up. We're more conditioned to be quiet, blend in, people please, and obviously this is different in depending on where you grew up, where you went to school, how your parents were, if you were in, church, like, all of these things can change how you were conditioned to show up, but you are allowed to be a full person. You are smart enough, you can speak your mind, you can take up space, you should, like, all of these things, you have to question some of the conditioning that maybe has been placed on you in the past.
Absolutely, and speaking of, like, using your voice, speaking up, and talking and sharing, you have a Substack as well. And that's where you put some of your, like, just knowledge or thoughts or things out there. Will you tell the people as we kind of, like, wrap up, I guess, like, what they can find on your Substack if they wanna dive a little deeper into Haley or behind the scenes? Like, what can they find there? And then, of course, where they'll be able to find fabric and whatnot.
Yeah, my Substack's called Super Cult. It's still pretty new. It's all about kind of my journey as a brand designer creative into the founder life and what it's taking, and kind of some great notes on brand building. I think it's for really the creative looking to make something else outside of their creative practice. It's been really fun to write. I've been exploring all sorts of different avenues for it, but have loved doing that. And then you can find Fabric at drinkfabric.com. And then, of course, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn every day. Haylee Jordan.
Awesome. To try it, mostly for people, they're gonna have to order it online, right?
So we're all over Colorado and all the chains and liquor stores and soon to be a ton of bars. But if you are out of state, you will order it from drinkfabric.com.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, everybody out there, obviously, check those show notes to go find drink fabric, give it a try. Especially, I think a lot of you are outside of Colorado, but there's definitely a handful of you in Colorado. Would love to hear your thoughts on it if you have tried it, seen it, and yeah, just kind of what your journey might be like. Finding that balance, that elusive balance, mindful drinking, zebra striping, all the things. I just don't want people to feel bad about being in the space where, like, if you enjoy a drink still, that's great. We're not telling you anyway, like, don't do it. Like you said, that's not what you're trying to do at Fabric. Don't do it. But like, here's another option for you.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
we all need options. So, Haley, thank you so much for joining today. It's been lovely to chat with you, learn a little bit about you behind the brand and what the brand is doing and what Fabric is all about.
Thank you so much. I loved talking, and we will chat soon.
Definitely. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye, everybody out there. We will talk to you next week.